Hi, Kat.
Hi, Tiff.
So, have you ever found a four-leaf clover?
Yes.
You have.
Yes, actually, last 2 summers ago when I was road tripping across America in Chattanooga, I found one at the dog park.
That's amazing. So, what if I told you that that four-leaf clover was probably plucked from an invasive species?
You're not surprising me, but I'm
Wah, wah.
wah, wah, I believe it.
Yeah, I was surprised to learn that, but I am here to reassure you that it doesn't really seem like it matters.
Ooh.
Yeah, so let's get into why. Welcome to Greening Up My Act. Alrighty, there we are.
I think we should maybe tell our audience that we're trying a new system here, which is like one of the reasons you can see our faces, hopefully, and
Yeah,
also
fingers
one of the reasons,
crossed.
yeah, we sometimes are a little, we're making faces during the music, and it's a new, we used to add the music in post, and now we're doing it live.
Yep.
So
Yeah, we're trying to make the recording and editing process easier, but it's all new, so we're kind of
yeah,
like,
hopefully by the middle of the season you'll be like, what new system? I don't know
yeah,
what you mean. It was like this the whole time, but for now it's still new.
yeah. But yeah, that is we are hopefully fingers crossed going to be able to upload video to YouTube. So
Yeah, instead of
check it out.
just our icons. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So hello and welcome. And who the hell are we?
Yes. Well, I can tell us about that. We are two marketing writers. I'm Kat. She's Tiffany, and
Tiffany.
Tiff. I was gonna say Tiff, but I know
I
you're
know.
Tiffany. I was like Kat and Tiff. We are marketing writers, like I said, not scientists, and we are both committed to trying to live more sustainable lifestyle on a personal level, and found that there's a lot of marketing involved in green and natural and sustainable products and systems. So our goal is to cut through that greenwashing, or as we call it, green hooey, and help our friends and family members and strangers who listen to this podcast also learn those tips and tricks and what's real and what's just marketing speak. And we're
Yeah.
experts in marketing, so
Yeah. And to help you and ourselves because it's so easy to get won over by this stuff, but
yeah.
to help everybody kind of like be out in the wild and question things and know what to look for and be like, maybe that thing. Like the other day I saw something about, I swear to God, it was social plastic. What that means, I don't
Ooh.
know.
Okay.
There was a whole big label, and I actually took a picture of it. I was like, I need to share this. This is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I'm like, what the F does
Social
this mean?
plastic.
I don't know, man.
All
But
right.
it had
Season
some
10.
eco friendly looking stuff on it. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
A
cool.
flower and a green leaf, right?
Yes.
It says natural on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Green hooey.
Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows? If anybody knows what the hell that is, let me know. But it's a very strange name. But
Yeah. Social plastic. Okay.
yeah. So we're trying to help you out and help ourselves out in the process. Figure
Yeah.
out what the hell's going on.
Yeah. What really matters, like what you can actually do that has an impact, that is effective, doesn't cost you a ton of money or time,
Mm-hmm.
and isn't just making you feel better, even though it's not really doing anything.
Yeah. And it's also like manageable.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't, there's some things you just don't, can't do. We just don't have time, don't have the
Yeah.
bandwidth.
And what's manageable for one person is going to be totally different for another.
It's
But
true. So no
yeah.
judgment. Yeah. We
Yeah.
don't we don't always do all the things we talk about. Well, I think
No,
it
we do
has
not.
no, but it does change our lives though. I mean, I have changed a lot of what I do based on what we've researched. So,
Speaking of, I wanted to tell you a fun update, a funny kind of update. So I was all like hard. People say hard in the paint. I've never been one on that phrase, but anyway, I was like going
basketball
hard
metaphor. Yeah.
for natural deodorant
Yep.
last season because I was like, I don't know. I just really wanted it to work and I was just using it. And I've definitely switched back to Secret.
Yep. I go back and forth. Again, yeah, like I was using the natural deodorant type A that my sister introduced me to that I've had the same tube of for like probably 8 months now. So it's
Yeah.
lasted. But yeah, I just started to stink and I was like, all right. So I just used Secret for like a week and then I'm fine. Or glycolic acid overnight in my
Yes. Okay. I
armpits.
haven't tried that yet, but I
Yeah.
should. When my Secret runs out, I'll probably get that instead. Yeah, it was mostly like I was in a hurry and I didn't
Yeah.
have time to wash my pits.
Every
And
every 4 hours or whatever.
yeah, and I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm just gonna use Secret.
Yeah.
So I did, and it's been quite wonderful to be honest. But we'll maybe do like 50-50, 75-25.
Yeah.
Who knows? Anyway, I just thought
Gotta
that was
do what
funny.
works for you. Yeah, you're a busy
Because yeah, that's
mom.
the thing. It's like, man, life's hard enough, right?
You know, and some people are fine being the stinky woman in the pickup line at the school, and that good on you. And like, I always find that like you don't smell as bad as you think you do. Like, I
Yeah,
definitely wear a
probably.
lot less deodorant than I used to, um, like in
Yeah,
middle
I mean, I
school or
probably wear
whatever.
it like every 3 days or something.
Yeah,
I don't really put it on them, although I don't go that many places. So
there's that. It's like I work from home, and
yeah, my
excuse me.
incentive is low.
I'm also recovering from allergies. So I'm sorry if I sound like a schnorfel blaster, but
Norfolk Blaster. Not invited to our podcast if you're
no,
a
get off
Schnorful
the
Blaster.
podcast, schnorfel blaster. But yeah,
All right.
yeah,
No go.
cool. Thank you for that update.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say something else. Um, yeah. So today we're gonna be talking about clover lawns. Hence the reason I asked about four-leaf clovers. That wasn't just
Burst my
random.
bubble about it being this magical moment, but well, I think maybe that you're probably gonna reveal this, but like I probably can't identify clover. Like I have an idea in my head of what it looks like, and like I think about the baseball fields at my high school, and they were covered in clover that comes up with the flowers are little white bulbs that come up,
Mm-hmm.
and okay.
Yep.
But tell me more. Tell me more, Tiffany.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into like exactly how to identify it. There is a podcast episode that I referenced that he does. He talks about like exactly what it is and how it grows and all this stuff. And I didn't share that because I don't have time, but you can go listen to it if you're really curious.
Okay.
Um, but first, I will share my sources. We challenged ourselves this season to use maximum 5 sources. We're trying to make our lives easier
Yeah.
and more efficient.
And yeah,
So,
it also, for the record, looks better in the podcast notes because
well, that too.
we had like bibliographies going. It was like PhD master's thesis
Yeah.
is like
Yeah.
sorry. They're five websites.
Right. And the
Cool.
number of people who are actually going to follow through and click on those is probably pretty minuscule.
Um,
So,
I mean, again, no shame. Kudos to you for being hardcore researchers, but
yeah, exactly. So, I used Martha Stewart.
yay, yes.
Hardcore journalism over here. Her website talks about clover lawns.
She's kind of a
The
genius, not gonna lie.
Well, she is all things house related for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Gardenia Creative Gardens is basically gardenia.net. They just had this native, they were talking about like native plants and clover and yeah, all
Cool.
that.
Yeah.
The podcast episode I used was from Backyard Ecology. They had an entire episode on clover. So good, so useful. I was
We're
like,
just
this is
kind of
exactly what I want.
summarizing them. Yeah.
Yeah, well,
We're like, go
kind
listen to
of. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It was such a useful episode. I looked at Reddit, which I am not a Reddit person, and this Reddit scares me, but we can talk about that a little bit later. It was so intense. But specifically, this was the No Lawns. I think it's a subreddit. I'm not a Reddit person, so I don't know what it's really called. But then there was one specifically covering clover. I can find anything on Reddit.
Reddit's a wealth of information and misinformation and
Exactly. Yes.
virulent extremism in many directions that
Oh
you wouldn't even
boy.
know was people were violently extremist about. So it's eye-opening for
Yeah.
sure.
I'm finding that to be the case. And then I used the spruce, which we use a lot. They talked about clover lawns. That was 5, I know. The last thing, I just have a cool source that I'm going to share at the end, but that's it wasn't really my source. It was just something I found that's really cool that I'll share. So those are
Cool.
my 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Good
So,
job.
thank you.
5. 3, sir. 5.
Yeah.
Sorry to quote Monty Python. Yeah.
All right. So, clover lawns. What the hell is a clover lawn? Basically, it's what it sounds like. You're just trying to replace your grass with clover. That's sort of this fantasy that a lot of people idealize, or you're mixing clover in with the grass that you already have.
Okay.
And from far away, it looks really similar to a grass lawn. From close up, you can tell that it's clover, but from far away, it's sort of like has this illusion of
Green.
greenery,
Mm-hmm.
and you can mow it, and it works similarly to a grass lawn, but a lot of people say that there are environmental benefits, so that's kind of what we're looking into, because it's really exploding, this idea. People are like really adamant about how, well, first off, how terrible grass is,
I
and
mean, yeah,
second,
that's basically the internet's consensus is like,
yeah.
fuck turf lawns. Yeah.
Yes. So there are a few kinds that we usually talk about in terms of lawns. So a few kinds of clover. One is white clover, the one that you were talking about, that has the white flower. That's the biggest one. That's the most common one.
Okay.
Another one is micro clover, which must just be sort of this modified version of clover, but it's smaller and it's shorter than other kinds. So it's a little bit easier to keep. Well, it's easier to keep short because it's shorter.
Right.
That's the other really popular one. 2 other kinds are red clover. That one has purple flowers, and then crimson clover has dark red flowers. So
Ooh,
you've
pretty.
probably seen, like, when I looked at pictures of these, I was like, I have these in my yard. I just
Oh
didn't
yeah.
know it
Yeah. Yeah, they're
for the
everywhere.
for like the 3 weeks that I don't mow my lawn, not by choice, but now I will because last episode, yeah.
Oh yeah, we should say go back and listen to the first episode of this season about lawns so you understand why we're
Yeah.
like fuck lawns.
Yes, yeah, because we're trying to do like one longer episode and then a couple sort of shorter ones to focus more in depth on one topic. So we talked about why lawns suck last time, and then this time we're talking about, are clover lawns better?
Yeah.
We'll
I
see.
don't know. Yeah.
So, what eco-friendly claims are these clover lawn people making? Clover heads.
Big clover.
It probably will be one day.
I know. As soon as
So, there
somebody's
was,
gonna
I
get
found,
us.
yeah, I found a Scott's,
I was gonna
Scott's
say
turf,
Scots,
whatever.
yes. Oh
They
god.
have a clover
Of course
seed
they
that
do.
you can buy. So it's
Of
kind of
course they
interesting.
do.
Yeah. It's much more expensive than this other one I found. So I'll share the other one.
Okay. I have one in our next episode we'll discuss that in wildflower lawns, which is next week, because
Ah, interesting.
yes.
All right. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, I think we said last episode that you were going to be doing clover and that I was going to be doing. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. So if anybody's confused, here we are. I'm doing
Yeah.
clover.
This whole
Okay.
season we're just like, all those things we said, we're not gonna do them. It's
Why would you listen to
don't believe
us?
us. Yeah. Oh,
Hopefully you
okay, sorry.
haven't, and then yeah,
Yeah. I haven't
hopefully
gotten any
nobody's listening.
complaints yet, so we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. We're doing our best. Okay. So, some of the claims that folks make, these clover fanatics make, is that number one, using clover instead of grass can promote soil health. And I looked it up, and it's like, it seems to be true. I think that's like pretty true.
With an
So,
asterisk.
this one is true.
Okay.
There's other people. My brain is clouded with internet people, so they're like,
You've been on Reddit. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
The Reddit
So I'm
cloud
like,
was just like people yelling. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, yeah. So I think like the general consensus is that's true because they are legumes, which is what I found, and legumes
Oh.
Yeah, and legumes
Interesting.
are nitrogen fixing, which means that they
Yes.
take nitrogen out of the air and convert it into nitrogen in the soil. So a lot of fertilizers are nitrogen, or at least they contain nitrogen. So basically, you like skip a process. You don't need to
You're
fertilize.
auto
I'm
fertilizing.
never gonna fertilize my lawn anyway, but like if
I
you
know.
don't, if you do, you might be able to skip fertilizing it. So
Okay.
that is pretty cool. I didn't look up like how well it works or how whatever, but I do know that farms use clover or legumes in general as like cover crops between
That's why you grow
seasons.
corn and beans together,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
beans are legumes. And,
Yes. Yeah.
and look, there's a process there that I forget, but yeah.
Mhm. Yep.
Science, some biologists come tell us.
Yeah.
Ecologist.
There's like the three sisters also, corn,
Is it corn, beans, and
squash.
squash? Yeah.
I don't yeah, beans. I think green beans or something. I don't remember. Anyway.
Yeah.
Beans would make sense. But so so yeah, I think that's true. Other people said that oh they can help with soil erosion, but I think that's just because of the fact that it's like a cover crop, right? I mean, I think any kind of cover
Anything
crop,
that
any
holds
sort of
roots. Yeah.
yeah, that's going to help with erosion. So
Yeah.
I didn't find anything that specific about clover with that. The next thing people say, which I found so interesting, internet, what is up? Everybody says that clover is drought resistant. Everyone and their goddamn mother.
Wow. Okay. I mean
And
that.
it's
Okay. Well, because
yes,
it grows in New Mexico. My high school baseball fields were covered in it,
that's
and
interesting.
of course they think they watered the fields in
Aha.
my high school.
Could. They probably, maybe did.
But
Yeah.
if it grows in New Mexico,
It's interesting, right? Yeah. So, okay. I saw this everywhere, like I said. Like, for example, Bob Vila, his website. Oh, I used him too. Shit. He was another. I didn't.
six oh screw this episode's over. We're going home. Six sources.
6 sources.
How dare you?
Shit stains. All right, I gotta add that to the top. Anyways, um, he says clover has much deeper roots than turf. So planting clover
Okay.
instead of grass means you'll spend far less time and money watering your lawn. But then I listened
Caveat.
to yes, then I listened to the podcast, the Backyard Ecology podcast, and they basically said the opposite. So the host is named Shannon Trimble. She interviewed a dude. I read this, a dude studying clovers. He's like literally studying clovers. His name is Jonathan Kubesh. He's a PhD student at Virginia Tech University who's writing a whole damn dissertation on clover. So I think he knows what he's talking about, right? And he says that clover isn't actually more drought resistant than grass. So Shannon, the host, says that in her experience, a hot and dry season or a hot and dry summer means your clover is just going to fry, that it's
Okay.
done.
Okay.
And actually, my experience, I planted a little bit of clover, just a really small patch, just to experiment. And my experience was the same. Oh my God, it was very hot. I shouldn't have planted in the heat of summer, but
You're like, it's
just,
July. It's time to plant. Let's go. Yeah.
it was July.
Yeah.
It was just
Well,
circumstance, but
and I think I do have some clover in my front lawn, and it dies. I mean, it comes back, but it definitely dies off in the summer.
that's
Everything
so,
dies in the summer.
yeah, it is interesting. So Jonathan, the clover guy, clover dude, says that clover root systems aren't as thick as grasses. So clovers are going to put down a single tap root to pull all of their water and all their minerals. So they have like one root for all of the little leaves on that specific
Oh, interesting.
plant.
Instead of like every blade of grass has, well, like there's fewer leaves of grass on a root.
Yes. So
Okay.
grass or sod, he says that they have fibrous roots, which means that they have more contact for the water and
Surface
mineral
area.
uptake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they actually said that means it's like a crisp yard when it's really dry or really hot. With clover, also grass. I mean, grass can die too, right? But they made it sound like clover is actually more susceptible to
Okay.
having issues with being hot and dry, which is like everywhere said it's drought resistant. So annoying.
Okay.
But
Wow.
Bob Vila did make a little comeback because he was one who said, oh, you have to water it less if you use clover. But then in the same article, he says, he kind of clarified and cleared it up a little bit. He says, white clover is a moderately drought tolerant ground cover if the plants are spaced out. So if they're
Okay.
planted too closely, which is what I did, I just threw a bunch of seeds, they tend to compete for the water. So in that situation, they don't do as well during droughts. And this is
That
one
makes
reason
sense.
why clover does so well when it's mixed with grass, because clover provides shade to the soil, reducing water evaporation and helping grass survive periods of drought.
Okay. Okay. So like a pure clover lawn, probably you're not going to notice that much of a difference. But if you mix it with your turf, you might have better results.
You might, yeah. That's
Okay.
what it sounds like.
Okay.
So that was fascinating because it's like literally everything I read. It's just people spout off stuff that they
Well,
think
they just
or they've
repeat,
read.
like,
Yes.
yeah, like if Bob Vila prints it, then everyone else just references Bob Vila. And I mean, yeah, I'm sure we've done that. It's just we read it somewhere
Right.
and we just kept, yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think about not PFAS, phthalates. Didn't we
Yes.
find out something about phthalates
Yeah, that
later
they're
where it's
not
like,
as bad as everyone says. Yeah.
yeah, or potentially. It's so interesting because that's just
Yeah.
sort of an assumption and turns out it could be wrong.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Hashtag science.
Yeah. So the third, we have 4 claims that they make. The third one is that clover provides for pollinators. And, okay, white clover, actually all clover, because they all have flowers. They have flowers. If you have eyes, you've seen bees on these
Yes.
goddamn flowers, right? And in the podcast episode, Jonathan actually says it's good because it's like spreading out. He says spreading out when the buffet is available. So a lot of flowers are like, they have like a 1 or 2 week flowering period and then they're goners. But clover's around for a long time
Like all
throughout the
summer.
year.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so that's cool. Like, great. It also depends how often you mow it and how low you mow it because
And
you're
it,
going to
yeah,
mow
because
off
you
the
have to let the
flowers.
flowers grow. Yeah.
Yeah. And but I think that is true that it could definitely provide for pollinators. But then some jackass on Reddit he claimed that like clover doesn't provide anything for native bees. And I'm thinking like, how do you know this, first off? And I have seen bumblebees with my own 2 eyes lapping that clover up, and
Yeah.
bumblebees are native to my area. So calm down.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah. I
like,
don't
people need to chill
know.
out.
And maybe that's a thing you get into is like, because there are honeybees
Oh yeah,
that
we're gonna talk
people,
about bees.
okay, yeah. But like
Yeah.
farmed bees versus native bees.
Yes, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're gonna talk about bee hotels. So I think at some point later this
Yeah. Halfway
season.
through the
And
season, I think. Yeah.
yeah. And I already did a bunch of the research and it's like
I
that one's
saw.
really interesting.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Um but yeah, I was like, dude, calm down. So
Mm.
everyone just needs to calm down. Then the last environmental benefit that I found was that people say you need to mow clover only like 3 or 4 times a year if
Oh,
it's
wow.
actual clover, if it's just pure clover, if there's not grass in there, because it only grows like between 2 and 8 inches tall, which is according to the spruce. 8 inches. I'm trying to think. 8 inches. That's not that tall, actually.
Girl inches or boy inches?
Girl
Oh yeah,
inches, I
no, but
guess.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's, I mean,
But yeah, I was trying to think. Yeah, all right. It's pretty big. No, anyway.
8 inches is tall, but it's like just above your ankles, probably.
Yeah.
Like maybe your shins. Not.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, it's not going to be like the HOA is going to come after you for your 4 foot tall weeds that are
That's what I would
blocking
think.
driveways or making it impossible to make a turn at the corner or something.
Right. I wonder what HOAs think about clover. I did read a little bit about that, but if it's like you have all the flowers everywhere, if people would think, oh,
Yeah.
unkempt.
Well, I mean, I think that probably would spur unkempt. I mean, if it's just close and it looks from the distance like turf lawn, they probably wouldn't have a problem with it if it was
Right.
mixed. But yeah, it's when it starts being different heights and
Having actual pollinator friendly
being an
flowers.
actual
God forbid flowers. Yeah.
natural process. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, if this is true, I, I looked it up and like, who knows? Like I said, everybody's just repeating each other. So who knows? I think it's true that you don't have to mow it as often. It would make sense because gets taller than clover. So that can help significantly with the amount of greenhouse gases produced from lawn mowing and trimming. Because as we
Mm.
learned last episode, that's not good.
That's the biggest contributor to, yeah, to the reason that the reason lawns are bad is because we mow them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, other than water usage, yes, the mowing and the gas powered, blowers and everything.
Yeah. Okay, so there is a twist with Clover.
Should we take a break?
That's what I was gonna one sentence and then I have let's take a break. We're on the
Okay,
same
shoot,
No, we're
yeah.
on the same wavelength. So white clover, this isn't really a twist because I gave it away, but white clover and red clover is not native to the United States. It is from Europe.
Dun dun dun.
Let's take a break.
Mysterious.
And we're back.
Yes.
Such a long break. All right, so we've just revealed the plot twist of the century that Clover's not native. I actually was really surprised about this, just because it seems so like, what's the word I'm looking for? Not homey. It just seems so like natural, like it just fits.
Well, it's like you think about, I mean, there's so much in our American lore about clover, like
Right.
clover honey, and like clover, like I was saying, growing up,
Like a clover
a
field.
clover
Yeah.
field. I used to make clover chains, instead of playing whatever sport they wanted us to play, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it just seems like it's just so part of the American experience that it's counterintuitive that it
Yeah.
would be non-native.
Yeah. Well, there are a couple species that are native, but they're
Okay.
not the ones that most people have in their lawns.
Okay.
So we'll get into that in a second. But the funny thing is, like, does this matter? Like, does it matter that they're technically invasive?
Right.
Because it's even listed in the Invasive Plant Atlas of the United States. And some people say that, invasive species can outcompete native species and reduce diversity, blah, blah, blah.
And wreck ecosystems,
Yeah. So some invasive species are really bad, but it turns out clover's not really one of them.
Yeah, I was gonna say, okay.
Yeah. Phew, phew. So this is from Backyard Ecology, the guy, the clover dude, who I trust. Well, it was really interesting because they introduced this term of like naturalized exotic versus invasive.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, naturalized exotic. So you can kind of understand that it's not from here, but it's been naturalized into the ecosystem.
Okay.
And that's kind of what happened. So it's incorporated into local environments pretty well. And
okay. So it's not necessarily shooing out other native plants.
no, they say it doesn't compete like many invasives do.
Okay.
So Jonathan Kubesh, the clover dude, says that there are native species of clover all across the United States, but they're not really used for lawns.
Okay.
So they're not really like they don't look like a lawn.
They're
So
not the lush green ones
yes.
that we, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was interesting, but I don't find, and some people flew off the handle with it being non-native or whatever, but luckily this guy is like, it's fine. So
well,
like,
and still neither is turf grass.
well, yeah, exactly.
So
Which
yeah.
I mean, I think most people saying it's not native is they're probably not like, yay, grass is great. But,
yeah, probably not.
But still, there's a lot of stuff that's not native, and yeah. So
cars, for instance.
Cars, for example.
Not native.
Yeah. So, is this something a normal person could do or afford to have a clover lawn or to create a clover lawn? So, Jonathan says that it's an option for homeowners, and he thinks it's an option. It's not like, oh yeah, definitely. But so he doesn't feel the need to be a native purist in this instance, which I really appreciate. It is affordable. So I go to Hudson Valley Seed Company, which is an online seed company. You know them.
Yeah.
I really like them. They're really popular, but basically you can buy seeds online, and it's $14 for enough seed to cover like 2,000 square feet.
Oh, geez.
$14.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good. Okay.
Yes. That's much cheaper than the grass seed I found online.
Yeah.
And also much cheaper than the Scott's version of Scott's
Well,
Turf
yeah,
Builder
of course.
version of Clover.
Well, because they can't sell you fertilizer, and so they got to mark it up.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Can't sell you all their other lawn products if you're using a clover lawn.
It does say on the Scott's thing, it says self-fertilizing. So
yeah,
they're not trying to hide it.
Yeah.
So, but he says it really depends on your goals for your yard. So if you want to attract pollinators and have a lawn that can handle like a dog running around.
Oh, yeah.
Then white clover could be an option. He says it's not native. He's fine with that, but you may have to thicken it up from time to time.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily going to spread. I feel like
naturally.
Grass is really good at spreading, actually.
It depends on the grass, but yeah.
Yeah, that could be. It's not. It will spread, I think, but you're going to probably have some patches that you're going to have to fill in
Help
later.
it along. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what happened with me. I actually needed, I'm not going to do it now, but when it gets warm, I need to fill in my little tiny patch of clover that I was experimenting with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I cooked first.
Fried,
deep fried. Yes.
But so in terms of maintenance, do you have to replant every spring, or will it?
No, it should come back. I mean, it depends on, because they were talking about some of them that they're perennials, but I don't think so. There's no way. Who the hell would be able to do that every year? I think it's like they have a relatively short lifespan, but meaning like 3 to 4 years. But I hope I'm getting this right because I'm just remembering from the podcast episode, but they new clovers coming up all the time.
If procreate is the right word. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think you're going to have to do that. But the thing is, if you want to put in something super durable that's going to stand up against other weeds, first off, because clover's not great at blocking out weeds.
Yeah.
Which clover is a weed, the irony, but in some people's minds.
Just depends on if you want it there or not. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want something you have to fill in. You want something that's going to handle drought a little bit better. You might want a mix of clover and grass. And that's actually what a lot of people say is like, that's a really good way to get started, is to put clover seed in what you already have. And I think I'm going to try that, actually.
That's a great idea.
Mine is not necessarily grass, as we've discussed, but put it in with my other weeds.
Is there a tip? Like you said, you planted it, you just kind of threw seed. Is there a tip for like how to plant it or seed it?
I mean, I didn't look into it, but I do know that my clover, the Hudson Valley label, has directions basically. And it was funny because there was a word that they used, something hand sow.
Hand sow.
And I was like, what the hell is that? So I had to actually Google it. And it basically means literally just throw the seeds around with your hands. So that's what I did. And I just went really wild with it, hog wild with it. And a lot
hard
of
in the paint. She went hard in the paint with her hand sewing.
I sure did. Okay, so clover and grass is good to start if
Okay.
you just want to experiment with it or have something really durable. Which is another funny thing is like a lot of people said, "Oh, clover's so much more durable than grass."
Right,
And
like you were
that's just
saying. It's not true.
yeah, it's just like not okay. So basically like can normal people do this? Like clover might be part of the system, but it's not the entire system is what these folks are saying. So they also say
Okay.
there's no one size fits all answer.
That makes sense.
Um, some people on Reddit said clover is a great gateway drug to going no lawn, which I thought was so funny.
I
I'm
might
like, I
be
love it.
accidentally clover by
Right?
I'm pretty sure I have clover in my front yard. Yep.
You've seen them. You know what they are, but
Yeah.
they might be hard to identify. Because other stuff like I think sorrel looks a lot like it, if
Ooh,
I'm
okay.
thinking of the right thing. And you can actually eat that. It's sour, but it's not clover. So
Can you eat clover? I know cows can.
I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna hurt. I've tried it because I thought it was sorrel, and I was like, "Oh, this is sour. This tastes like grass."
Yeah.
So I don't think it's gonna hurt you.
Interesting. Okay. I'm looking up sorrel.
I think that's the right name if I'm thinking of the right thing. So okay, finally, does this Earth-friendly message need to come back to Earth? Yes. People need to chill out a little bit, at least a little bit, maybe a lot of it. Um, it's funny because on Reddit, I found this guy who was like, it's always a guy. Anyway, who said, Clover is not, capitalized, a lawn alternative. It is a more benign lawn amendment. It is not better or worse than lawn. It is lawn, or rather,
Okay.
a potential component of a lawn, and thus isn't really a no lawns option. It's just a less sucky lawn option.
Okay.
So he had a lot of opinions
I
there.
guess, I mean, he's not wrong, I guess.
He's not wrong, but then I thought about it, and it's like if it requires less mowing, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, right.
So I'm also like,
Yeah,
I
like
mean, yeah, it
pick your
technically is.
battles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like calm, calm, peace.
We don't need capital letters. We need that all
So
caps.
yeah, I just found Reddit to be really uncomfortable, but that's
Yeah.
just me. It's funny because
Yeah.
like my brother-in-law loves Reddit, and now I'm like,
It's a good
is it
space
because
for
you're
men.
a dude? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But all right, so every episode we rate each thing we look at from 1 to 5. It's a granola rating. I made it up a long time ago, and then Kat liked it, so we're like, yeah, let's use it.
We're going to do it forever. I don't care.
We're still kind of like working out the kinks because we're sort of changing the structure of it a little bit from last
Yeah.
season, but because we didn't want it to turn into like, oh, you should do this, you shouldn't do that. But we basically like, rate the products, not products, but yeah, products or
Services,
things.
systems. Yeah.
Yeah. From soggy. So if it's really a terrible thing or has like a really terrible marketing, it's soggy.
Mm-hmm.
Or if it's really awesome, it's going to be break your tooth off.
Yeah.
And you want that, by the way.
Broken teeth
So,
are our goal. Not greening
yes,
up my act.
we
Much to
don't.
Tiffany's dentist's
Yeah,
chagrin.
we talked about my dentist actually.
We did, yes.
So this one I put smack dab in the middle, 3 out of 5, which is chewy, because there's a lot of misinformation and not really from the clover producers themselves, which I really appreciated. I looked at like actual clover packaging. The one from Scott's was fine. There was no like weird green hooey on there. And then the one from Hudson Valley River Stone Company, whatever the name is. I just said it a minute ago. I'm not good with names, but those people was also fine. So they weren't saying like save the earth, all this bullshit. They were like, yeah, you might help with some nitrogen fixation. You're like, okay, cool. But the misinformation was just so prevalent in the online community that was spewing nonsense that I couldn't be like, oh, this is fantastic. And plus, I think like the effects are like kind of limited. So I'm giving it
Yeah.
3 out of 5.
Okay. I think that's a fair rating.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, I kind of agree with Reddit guy in a sense that like, it's still like I think often you'd be doing a clover lawn because you still want to have that green lush thing that we've idealized. And so I could see how it's just kind of a mask for like the problem that is lawn. But I also agree with you that it like cuts back on emissions just by not mowing.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, he's right. It is still technically a green lawn, right?
Yeah. And there's like honestly not that much wrong with green lawns as long as you have some trees in there too, especially if those trees are shading your house.
Well, and it's if it's natural
Which,
to
by the way, I
your
don't, so I'm not shaming anybody who doesn't. It's
yeah,
we
but
talked
if
about
it's
that in
natural
last
to
episode.
your locality too, like a lush green lawn in Albuquerque, New Mexico,
Yeah,
is a lot different than one in Maryland where it actually rains.
that's true. I am
Yeah,
coming from a very different. Yeah, that's
yeah,
very, very true. Yeah,
yeah. So okay,
yeah.
cool. Thank you
You
for
guys
that.
have native clover out there, by the way,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is
I'm
kind of
sure we
cool.
do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go
Apparently, it
look
gets
for it.
more diverse the further west you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
that is cool.
And then just real quick, one really cool resource that I found on Reddit. It's fine. They do have some people have some cool resources, but it's called Wild Ones Garden Designs, and I'm gonna link it
Ooh,
because I didn't really look into it so much, but they basically publish public designs that they've like sustainable garden like landscape designs that they've done. I think they do them for clients. They're based on region. There's one in Washington D.C. for me, and I found one over by not in Texas, but there's one in like Arizona or something.
which is
And
only 2 states over, but okay.
yeah, and I think New Mexico. Yeah, so it's not like they only have maybe 20, if that, maybe 15 different options. I think they're probably adding them as they go, but
There's
they're
one in
really
They've
cool.
got one in Dallas and then
Oh, they do have one in Dallas.
Colorado
Okay.
and Utah. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Oh,
And
and like yeah, Arizona and California. Oh,
yeah.
Las Vegas. Yeah.
And like their lawn, they do still have lawn areas in most of the designs that I saw, but they weren't very big. Most of it was like shrubbery or trees or, things that don't need a bunch of water.
Yeah.
So, anyway, check it out. It's
That's
so
a great
cool.
resource. Yeah.
Yeah. I was obsessed. So,
Cool.
yeah. So somehow how does it always happen? Am I just a chatty Cathy?
No, I think
46 minutes.
we have a thing for doing 50-minute long podcasts.
I think it's like
We're just natural podcasters. That's
in
what
our blood. Like
Yeah.
we can't fight it. Okay. It doesn't have to be short, right?
Right.
Doesn't
Well,
really.
that was great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now we got to.
Well, so again, like we mentioned, next week is mine on
Yes.
wildflower lawns, which is slightly different, and I think, but still interesting. So
okay, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I was kind of worried that they were going to be the same, so I'm glad that. I mean, of course they're not, because you and I have different research methods. Like, for the record, I eschew Reddit at all costs. Like, I won't go on Reddit.
Okay, now I know. I've learned my freaking lesson.
Well, I mean, just because it's such a rabbit hole, I'm sure there's.
Yeah.
I mean, you found the wild ones.
Yeah,
that's
helps.
great.
That's true. Yeah.
So it is a good resource, but it's just like if I go on Reddit, I will be on Reddit for like 3 days, and then I'll come out. My eyes will be like googly, and,
bleeding.
Yeah, my ears will be bleeding, and I will be like that. Like, yeah, my experience with Reddit is it was a source of comfort to me while I was going through my divorce, but since then I'm like, I don't need it.
Oh, that's so interesting. It is amazing the things that we find comfort in.
Well, yeah, it was because it was a place I could post angry rants anonymously, basically.
Yes. Yep.
Because I can't do that on Facebook,
right,
or social media,
and then get comments from hopefully sympathetic people.
Well, yeah, like strangers, you know, who are like, yeah, same. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yes. Okay. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So.
All right, cool. So I'm going to start our outro music.
Okay.
And we won't announce this every time.
Yeah, but eventually when we get used to this, we'll just do it. But I will mention while she does that you can find us on Instagram at greeningupmyact. And also, if you want to send us an email, greeningupmyact@gmail.com, and we love listener comments. So if you have comments on Clover Lawns or anything else, let us know.
Yes, and we still have some time.
That's okay. We can just say goodnight and let people listen to the cool music we have.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Bye, Tiffany.
Bye.